Welcome back, YouTube. My name is TayVikes28, and I am live once again here for the Toronto Huskies franchise. I'm very excited for you guys to see the future of the franchise upcoming because, as you see here on screen, this is the end of year 2 here with your Huskies, and in my opinion, I think it was quite a success. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to double check my audio, make sure everything sounds good on my side for you guys, and then we can get rolling into what is in store for this upcoming off season and really just get into it. And it's this comeback manner against us that I don't know how to explain. Every game we always seem to have the lead on this Texans team, and then it just floats right out of our hands and into the Texans' grasp, and we end up losing the game. And that seems to always be the case, but we finally were able to hold on to one this time against the Texans. So if you didn't get to watch that, go check that out. But in the meantime, we're going to be heading towards the off season, and as you see there, our final record on the year was 6-10, which was a big improvement from last year. We only had about 3 or 4 wins last season, so we've already almost doubled our win total. So what that means to me is that next season, if we continue on that trend, we're looking at 12 wins. Maybe not quite, but I would like to see us get into the playoffs next season. I think that's definitely on the cards for this Huskies squad. For those of you that are new here, what is the Toronto Huskies team? As I go ahead and show you guys this team, I will explain what the franchise itself is. So the Huskies franchise is a little different than most franchises that you'll see. We do not have a situation where we go in and play the games. What I mean by that is we still watch all the games, every single snap of every single game, but the difference is that in this, we focus on building the team and then we simulate the games. While we still watch all of the plays, we do a slow simulation where we get to go in and I'll commentate over the plays and we get to see it all play out live. But the difference is we do not impact what happens on the field. Essentially, we put the team together and then let the team perform on its own, which is a very big difference than most franchises you see on YouTube. So I am really trying to make this into something that we can build upon. Obviously, the Toronto Huskies franchise will be going strong for hopefully quite a few seasons, but once we finally get to the end of the Huskies franchise, I'd like to have some other projects ready to go, if not already started, and we will have similar aspects to this, maybe some improvements here or there, but I really do like what this sort of a franchise does. It focuses on team building and less in terms of how good am I at the game. It's more how good am I as a GM, or are you guys, because it's both of us, you guys as well as myself, that are going through here and creating this team. So how good are we as a group being able to create a team that flourishes and wins titles? But that's something that we can hopefully find out as we get further into this franchise. But as you see here, as I'm going through the team, there's been a lot of young guys added on this squad over the last season or two. Since it started from essentially nowhere, it was an expansion team in a sense, taking over for the Jacksonville Jaguars, whose owner gave the rights away to our current owner and former QB1 from Season 1, Ryan Fitzmagic, aka Ryan Fitzpatrick. And we went in, we competed that first year and it was a struggle, but we have since then improved immensely, and as you see, we have a lot of pieces to work with, and pieces that I think will be here for years to come. Now, those draft picks that you just saw there, those are going to change because I have to give some draft picks away to some other teams for various reasons. When I was setting up this franchise, in order for me to get rid of certain players and not have a massive cap hit for the next 4 years or whatever, I had to go ahead and make some trades. So I'm going to go ahead and undo some of those trades, essentially giving the picks back to the teams that are required, or essentially should have had the picks to begin with. So I'll be giving them away for pretty much nothing, which doesn't affect the franchise at all. It just means that we are, in fact, going to be moving forward with, I think we're going to have about 10 or 11 selections this year in this draft. So we still have a handful of selections, but it is going to be nowhere near with the amount that you saw there, because I think right now I have a ridiculous amount of picks, but most of them are late round picks. So, but without further ado, I think it is time. Oh wait, one more thing. I will give you guys a scouting update. First scouting update of the season here in week 17, and the reason I waited so long to do one of these, I talked about doing one earlier in the season, but I realized since you guys already know a lot of these players, I kind of wanted to get a lot more of them scouted so that you guys can kind of get an idea of what these players will be like. So let's go ahead and jump in. As you see at the top of the board, Trevor Lawrence. That's right. The current Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback in real life. Could he be the Toronto Huskies quarterback of the future? I'm not sure. We will have to wait and see, but we'll see if the Huskies want to get another quarterback, or if they're rolling with Trevor Nickerson, the rookie from this season, who, in my opinion, played quite well. So we'll go position by position to show you some of these. And as you see, I didn't scout a ton of quarterbacks. Now, the reason being, I do like Trevor Nickerson a lot. Okay, I really like what he brings to the table. We do need a backup quarterback. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with another veteran again, because it seems to be working pretty well for development purposes, or if we're going to go a different route and maybe draft a backup quarterback. We will have to see. And then at the running back position, I did do a little bit of scouting here, because even though we have Aaron Jones, and he did play quite well, first ever 1,000-yard rusher, by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean we don't need another running back. Latavius Murray, the RB2, who played well this season. You know, he's getting older. I think his contract is up as well. So we still need a running back too, and possibly someone to take over for Aaron Jones. He's not going to be around forever either, so keep all of that in mind. And so we scouted a few guys, including guys like Travis Etienne, Najee Harris. As you see, we have a couple of guys here who do have first round grades, and I think could be good players. But yeah, so that's going to be what we're looking at right now. And then fullbacks, not much there. At wide receiver, I didn't scout too many of those because we have a really strong receiving core that's deep and young. So I did scout a couple of the top guys just to see in case we wanted to just splash, you know, go out and get a guy like Jamar Chase who's out there. There's Rashad Bateman as well. And obviously Justin Ross here would be interesting. But I didn't scout a whole lot of these guys. I'm sure a lot of these receivers are going to be quite good. But for right now, I figured we are good at the receiving core that we have, unless something changes. And then at the tight end position, I did scout some tight ends. Now, obviously we had a 1-year deal with our current tight end, and that is the former Tennessee Titan, Jonnu Smith, who, you know, we brought in to essentially be the replacement for, I'm drawing a blank on his name, Walker, the tight end there. Delaney Walker, thank you, could not think. Delaney Walker, for some reason I seem to be gravitating towards former Titans tight ends. But what that means right now is I don't know necessarily if he's going to get another contract with us, Jonnu Smith that is. So I went out and on the off chance he didn't, I scouted some guys, but then he started performing really well for us. But here are some of the guys that we have available. Pat Freiermuth, Brevin Jordan are just a couple of the top guys. Obviously some other names you'll recognize, maybe Jeremy Ruckert, Jake Ferguson, or Kyle Pitts. That's another big name. So we got a lot of different guys down here who all could be possible individuals that we go ahead and go after. And then we we did scout some offensive linemen. Not a ton, but we scouted some in case we wanted to go that route, because you can never have too many offensive linemen. That is one thing that I have always believed in. There's no such thing as too deep of an offensive line. All right. And then here's some more guys that we scouted: Wyatt Davis and Trey Smith. A couple of first-round prospects there. And then the centers, I actually were not too impressed by a lot of the centers. Creed Humphrey seemed okay, but a lot of them were a little underwhelming, to be 100% honest. And I didn't scout any guards because there were only a couple of guards that were even out there. Ed Ingram is a possibility. We'll have to see what he looks like. And then as you see here, some more tackles that were scouted. But as I mentioned before, I don't feel like offensive line is something we have to draft. I did go out and scout some edge rushers here because I felt like that was something with the possible moving on of our veteran up front, I guess, who, although he played really well this season, Ryan Kerrigan, I thought there might be a chance he would retire or we would move on from him. We'll have to see. So I went out and scouted some edge rushers who could fill that role. Gregory Rousseau was out here, but a lot of these guys I was not impressed with, to be 100% honest. So that's something that we'll have to look maybe elsewhere for. But there were a couple of other guys on the other side that could fill that role. Once again, none of them stood out necessarily as amazing players. And that's what I was really looking for, was a slam dunk player, someone that we could rely on as a franchise piece moving forward. And I didn't scout a ton of defensive tackles because we do have a great interior rush. So there were a few guys that I wanted to scout down the line here, some depth pieces possibly. So I went ahead and did that. Oh, looks like I lost connection. But as you see here, there's not a whole lot of great middle linebackers, to be 100% honest. I was a little going to be, and I want to bring him back because he played so well for us. But on the off chance we couldn't, I figured I'd have some possible replacements in the draft ready to go. Pat Surtain was up there, Sean Wade as well, and Tyson Campbell. All seem to be first-round grades. And there's some other good ones down here as well that we could end up going after. We'll have to see exactly how we feel about them once the draft hits. But as you see, I did do a lot of scouting across these corners, and there were a lot of good ones late that we could go after as well, just for some depth. And then I scouted some safeties, not saying we're going to go get one of them, but just to have all of our bases covered. We did scout some of the top safeties that were out there. A couple of first and second round grades there. Nothing too crazy though. And then I didn't scout any kickers or punters because I felt like our kicking and punting departments were pretty well secured with the guys that we've got right now. But that is what we're looking at in terms of this class. Now, I know it's not perfect in terms of the exact class that came out that season, but it's pretty close, and I figured why not try and get this franchise up as close as we can to the real NFL in terms of the players in there. So I figured why not continue to bring in some more real players before we go back to some of the fake players and bringing them in. So that's going to be our scouting update there. And then we've got a few other things to attend to before we get into things, and that includes some at the guys that we have to make decisions on. We aren't going to make any decisions right now. We're going to go ahead and do that once the offseason hits. So we've got Big Play Slade, Jonnu Smith, Ryan Kerrigan, and then some depth guys here that we have to figure out what we're doing with. But those are really the big three that we have to make decisions on, are these ones. All three of which played quite well for us this past season. So I'll go ahead and look at the stats real quick on our team. I guess I'll wait and do that until we advance so everyone has equal stats across the NFL. So let's go ahead and advance this week into the wild card weekend. So now we've got some decisions here. We have some upgrades as well. So let's go ahead and do these upgrades. We got Floyd Ellis, the star defensive, with an upgrade, who is really becoming one of the best players on this team. We're going to continue to make him better and better, as he's already up to an 84 overall and has 97 strength now. Then, as you see here, we have some depth players. We're getting some upgrades as well. Fullback Robert Tonyan, former tight end. Former kick returner Ashton Doolin as well. Alright, so that's going to wrap up the upgrades here. We have some staff to look at. As we see, we signed all of our practice squad players. So let's double check. I think we're kind of covered across all these. So with John Gruden, we're going to go ahead and just let his contract expire, and we will not be bringing him back for obvious reasons. But these other guys, I have liked what they've put out there, so I may end up sticking with these guys moving forward. But John Gruden will eventually be out as the head coach. We're just going to kind of wait until that expires, so that way we aren't on the hook for any more money. And what else do we have to do? Oh yes, I was going to show you guys the stats. And we'll do the final standings first. So as you see, the best team in the NFL were the Dallas Cowboys at 12-4. And we're going to go through division by division, starting with the NFC West. We got the 49ers winning that one. A couple of 9-7 teams. All, actually, of the teams were 500 or better. But only one team made it, which was the 49ers at 10-6. And then the NFC East, we were able to see the Giants make it at 9-6-1. And then the Cowboys, obviously being the best team, got the first round bye. Another division, though, with everyone 500 or better. And then the NFC Buccaneers taking that one, and the 9-7 Saints coming in as a wild card team. And then the North, you have the Bears at 9-7 winning that. Packers were just behind, unable to get into the playoffs. As you see, some of the Chiefs are struggling right now. They did let Pat Mahomes go, and he did go to the Dolphins, who are featured here, as they were the best team in the AFC at 11-4-1. That's what having Patrick Mahomes will do for you. And then the Patriots at 9-7 made the playoffs as well. The Bills at 9-7 missed out. But the big thing was that the Toronto Huskies finished out the season with 3 wins in a row, including a win against the Miami Dolphins. That's right. Best Huskies will be at pick number 7 in this upcoming draft. And then looking at the stats here, as you see, we had the 32nd ranked offense in terms of yards, but the number 8 defense in terms of yards. So we had one of the best defenses in the league, while our offense struggled a little bit. And then let's look at the offense. So Trevor Nickerson, the stats here may not say it. They may say he played poorly, but in all reality, he actually played quite well with a 70% completion percentage. And yes, the 17 interceptions look bad to only 11 touchdowns, but a lot of those were either last-minute Hail Marys at the end of halves or the end of games that got intercepted, or situations where players straight dropped footballs or tipped the ball up and it got intercepted by a defender, which are not on him. So I'd say he himself probably threw, I'd say 10 interceptions this year, 10 or 11. Whereas like 6 or 7 of those were things that were out of his control. So I would say it was more like 11 to 10 or 11 to 11, so a 1-to-1 interception to touchdown ratio, which is not great, but as a rookie, that's not bad with a 70% completion percentage, which is what I'm very excited about. And then the first ever 1,000-yard rusher with Aaron Jones, the new running back here, comes in, performs quite well, 7 touchdowns, did have some fumbles throughout the season that's hurt him a little bit. And Latavius Murray as the RB2 worked out pretty well as well. And then receiving-wise, first ever 1,000-yard receiver as well with CeeDee Lamb hitting that mark. Only 3 touchdowns. A lot of touchdowns to go around in terms of the receiving game, but that's to be expected when our quarterback only threw 11 touchdowns. So CeeDee Lamb, 1,000 yards. As you see, Jonnu Smith led us in receptions, actually, and second in yards, and tied for the touchdown lead as well. So he did have a pretty good season for your Toronto Huskies. And then Keontae Bonds comes in there with a pretty good number, as well as T. Higgins, actually, both over 500 yards. And the difference is Keontae Bonds could not find the end zone once this season, which really shocked me. He had caught 51 balls, but none of them in the end zone. And then Aaron Jones had a ton of receptions out of the backfield, and he continues to be a good dual threat player out of the backfield. And then Jesper Horsted made some big plays this season. Only 100 yards, though. Did find the end zone. And that pretty much wraps up the receiving department. And then blocking, nothing too much here to see. Now looking at this, yes, our tackles struggled, quote unquote, but tackles in this game struggle mightily. I don't care if you have a 99 overall tackle, he'll still give up double-digit sacks, guaranteed, every single time. So it's something about this game where edge rushers are absolutely dominant. So that's why I don't really consider the sack numbers allowed too highly into this. It's really just how much is our quarterback getting hit is more how I look at it. So, which I think was a lot better than last season. And then tackles, Demario Davis led us in tackles. He had 158, which should be near the league lead. We'll have to see. Logan Wilson over 100, and then 2 players at 99 with Jaquil Easter as well as Richie Branch. Pretty big numbers in terms of tackling numbers. And then tackles for loss, we got Adarius Evans in there at 18. He was the rookie, standout rookie who played really well for us. And then 16 for the veteran Ryan Kerrigan, 13 for Logan, a few other guys there. And then sacks. Floyd Ellis, star defensive tackle, led us in sacks with 12. As an interior nose tackle, that is impressive. He is almost like an Aaron Donald. And then you got 9.5 with Ryan Kerrigan. Like I said, he played well for us as that stopgap, possibly well enough to get another contract. And then we have Quincy Williams, who filled in as an edge rusher here and there on third downs, 4 sacks, 3 for Adarius Evans, who I thought would end up with more by the end of the year, but he just didn't get to the quarterback as much as he got to running backs and everything else, behind the line of scrimmage with those 18 tackles for loss. And then 3 for Logan Wilson as well, who surprised us in terms of his run stopping ability this season and pass rushing ability, I guess. And then a few other sacks here down the line. And then interceptions-wise, we had a lot more than I expected. Big Play Slay led us with 6. And then 4 for Marshawn Lattimore, 3 for Richie Branch, 2 for Jaquil Easter, and 1 for Jalen Thompson and Lano Hill. But I really like that 6 interceptions from Big Play Slay. I don't know if we can let him go with that type of number. And then we also have forced fumbles. 4, and this is where Darius Evans made his impact. 4 forced fumbles on top of the sacks and the tackles for loss. He was just a menace to opposing offenses. And then he also had 2 fumble recoveries on top of those 4 forced. And then 3 from Floyd Ellis, 2 from Jaquil Easter, 2 from Ryan Kerrigan, 1 for Lattimore, Williams, and Wilson. And then we had 3 blocks kicks this season. 2 from Nick Needham, 1 from Jalen Thompson, and we did have 1 safety by Floyd Ellis towards the end of the year. Some defensive touchdowns actually this year, a lot of them. We had 2 from Jaquil Easter, 2 from Big Play Slay, 2 from Marshawn Lattimore, 1 from Jalen Thompson, Demario Davis, Rashad Jones, and Rasheem Green. All had defensive touchdowns this season. They almost scored as many touchdowns as our offense, which is insane. And then kicking, Josh Lambo was amazing, as always. And Matt Hack was really good, actually. While he did have 4 blocked punts, a lot of them at the beginning of the season. I don't know if there was just a little miscommunication with the snapper or what, but then he really honed in towards the end of the year, having a ton of punts inside the 20, major field flipping ability from Matt Hack. And then the rookie return man, Eric Davis, I felt like performed pretty well in his role and may have performed well enough to even secure that job next season unless something changes. We'll have to see. He was both double duty as punt and kick return man, Eric Davis. And that's going to wrap up the stats. Real quick, we'll look at the NFL stats, see if any of our guys were towards the top. All right, so passing, Drew Brees led the NFL in passing. He had a great year, 34 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. And leader in touchdowns was actually Matt Ryan, though. The difference was he had a lot more interceptions. And the interception leader was Kyler Murray, who struggled this year with 22 picks. Russell Wilson also struggled. There's Nickerson at number 3. As you see, though, not that crazy interception numbers. A lot of these guys are up there. And then rushing-wise, Ezekiel Elliott led the NFL, cleared everyone else by about 300-plus yards. And a handful of 1,000-yard rushers here, though, for a few squads, including our very first one, Aaron Jones. And then touchdowns, Saquon Barkley led the way with Derrick Henry right on his tail. And then receiving-wise, Keenan Allen led the NFL in yardage with 1,200 yards. Handful of 1,000-yard receivers. Actually, more rushers than receivers this year in terms of 1,000-yarders. And the leader in receptions was Devin Funchess, actually. And then touchdown leader was Tyler Boyd, with Quincy Enunwa coming in tied for second with Steven Sims, Kenny Golladay, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So, handful of interesting guys there at the top. And then sack numbers, as I mentioned, there were just a ton of sacks. Every tackle will give up a ton of sacks. And the league leader in tackles is Demario Davis, with Logan Wilson coming in at 4. So we had 2 of the top 4 tackling linebackers this season, which is pretty impressive stuff. Tackles for loss, pretty good numbers there. And then sacks, 16.5 led the NFL, with DeMarcus Lawrence and Aaron Donald up there. And then interceptions. Obviously, big play Slay actually led the NFL with 6 interceptions. He's not on this list, but he did in fact have 6. And then Josh Lambo made the most field goals this season. And Matt Hack had the most punts. And not quite the highest average, but was definitely up there in the top 5. And that is going to wrap up the stats here. As we continue to go through this off season, we will continue to see how this team and this league is changing. As we go ahead and advance through the wild card week, we're going to go through the playoffs here pretty quick and show you guys what happened. And then to the divisional round, in which we go through that real quick. The AFC and NFC championship games. We'll go ahead and jump through there. And in the Pro Bowl week, we'll look at the league schedule real quick. And look at the wild card weekend. We've got the New England Patriots coming to town and beating up on the Indianapolis Colts. So they end up taking them out. Our division is already out of the playoffs, essentially, unless the Titans secured a win, which we'll see here in a second. And New Orleans ended up beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for an underdog upset there. And then the Titans do, in fact, keep our division alive, beating the Chargers pretty handedly, 28-13, and setting themselves up for a divisional round game in the playoffs here. And then the Giants actually beat the Chicago Bears 35-20. Not much of a game there. And then heading to the divisional round, we have the Patriots coming in and knocking off the Patrick Mahomes-led Dolphins. Oh my, can the Tom Brady-led Patriots do it again? And then looking here, the New Orleans Saints gave it their all. Drew Brees trying to rally his guys, but lose by 4 to the Dallas Cowboys, who just seem to be too powerful behind the legs of Ezekiel Elliott. And then the Tennessee Titans continue to upset people, beating the Cleveland Browns 35-21. Right now, the Titans cannot be beat unless you're the Toronto Huskies. And then again, another big upset win here as the Giants come into town and beat the San Francisco 49ers right out of their own stadium, 38-20. So that leads to the conference championship, in which the New England Patriots narrowly beat the Tennessee Titans in a shootout, 42-39. Pretty impressive stuff there. As you see, it was a bit of a comeback there from New England towards the end. And oh, I forgot, this is actually not the Tom Brady-led Patriots. This is the Cam Newton-led Patriots. I forgot. That was my bad. So the Cam Newton-led Patriots continuing to dominate. And then the New York Giants upset the Dallas Cowboys 31-28. And the Tua-led Giants end up beating the Dak Prescott-led Cowboys, who I think he was the reason they lost here, looking at the stat line. 134 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not a very good stat line. They really relied on Zeke, who tried his best, but just wasn't enough. Pretty impressive stuff there from the Giants. So you got the Giants and the Patriots. Where have we seen this one before? Let's see if the Patriots can get some revenge. But until then, let's look at the Pro Bowl lineups. And since we are part of the AFC South, if our guys made the Pro Bowl, it'll be there on the right-hand side. As you see, Mahomes making the Pro Bowl. Not too shocking there. Hey, Bob Ton, you made it as the fullback number 2. Jonnu Smith made it to the Pro Bowl as the tight end too. Floyd Ellis made the Pro Bowl as well, so that's going to be 3 now. Josh Lambo and Matt Hack both made the Pro Bowl. Special teams balling out for us. And that is actually it. So we only had 5 Pro Bowlers this year, which I actually think we had more last season, or the same amount. So pretty surprising, but maybe a couple of our guys got snubbed, not gonna lie. But that's alright, give us something to look forward to proving them wrong next season. As we go ahead and advance this thing to the Super Bowl week, and pretty big situation here. Can the Giants continue to be a problem for the Patriots, or will the Patriots get some revenge this week? We'll have to wait and see. As we'll go ahead and do some upgrades. Darius Evans getting an upgrade, continuing his development up to an 82 overall already through 1 season. He had actually, no, 83 overall, excuse me, had 2 upgrades. Some pretty impressive stuff from him this first season. And then Trevor Nickerson got an upgrade. Going to continue to hopefully make him a better and better quarterback. As his awareness goes up, his deep accuracy goes up. As you see, he's becoming a much more well-rounded quarterback and a possible quarterback of the future for your Toronto Huskies. Let's go ahead and scout some players real quick, as we're going to jump in here and look through some of the players. I have to decide here where we're going. There's somewhere that I saw and wanted to scout a little bit more. Huh, where was it? Well, I know someone I did want to take a look at here. Just to see what he ends up grading out as. Okay. Interesting. Kenny Pickett down there. All right. So let's take a look at the yearly awards. As we got the NFL MVP, Carson Wentz. Wow, that is surprising. I really thought Drew Brees should have had that. Huh. So Carson Wentz is the MVP. Coach of the Year is Brian Flores. Congratulations to him. And going to the AFC, we got Offensive Player of the Year, Pat Mahomes. Interesting. None of our guys up there. Defensive Player of the Year is Matt Milano. Once again, no Huskies available. But we did get Offensive Rookie of the Year. Trevor Nickerson gets it, edging out Aaron Robinson from the Cleveland Browns. And Marcel Cobb down there, who we thought could have been in contention at one point. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year is Adarius Evans, who well-deserved, made a heck of an impact. And Jaquil Easter at number 2. They both made good impacts on this defense, helped them to become what that unit was this season. And then the Best Quarterback Award goes to Lamar Jackson. That's something I don't think we've ever heard. Best Running Back Award to Derrick Henry, as Aaron Jones comes in at 10. Best Receiver to Antonio Brown. All right. Didn't realize we were playing in 2015, but... And then the Best Offensive Lineman to Quentin Nelson. I'd like to see some of our guys get up here at some point. Best Defensive Lineman to Myles Garrett. Although Floyd Ellis in at 5 and Ryan Kerrigan at 6. Best Linebacker to Donta Hightower. None of our guys in there. Best DB to Big Play Slay at number 1. Who had a heck of a season. Marshawn Lattimore at 7. Best Kicker, Josh Lambo is 2. Interesting. And that is going to round out the awards. So, let's go ahead and, real quick, go ahead and advance this, see who ends up winning the Super Bowl. My money's on the Patriots, and that is in fact who wins. They get their revenge behind Cam Newton as they win Super Bowl 56, 27-24 over the New York Giants. I'll have to real quick look at how that went down. As you see here, it looks like the Giants got off to a hot start and then fizzled out in the second half, allowing the Patriots to come back and win it. No turnovers from either team in this one. Pretty clean game. But Cam Newton just outdueled Tua in this one. And that may have been the deciding factor. As Saquon did his all to try and get them the win, but it just wasn't enough. The multi-headed attack that the Patriots brought in with their rushing game seemed to be just a little bit too much. Oh, that's interesting. Alright, so that is going to wrap up this season. It is now time to head to the off season. Get this thing underway. We've got some decisions here. And as you see, these older guys did take a bit of a hit. But I still think that they have a lot to offer this squad. Which is why I think I might be going ahead and giving Big Play Slay a contract regardless. I'm going to go ahead and up his salary a little bit. Give him a little bit more of a signing bonus. Hopefully entice him to want to stay here. And he is going to test unless we franchise tag him. So maybe we'll let him test the market and come back during the free agent period. So we're going to go ahead and look at Jonnu Smith now, as he did have a pretty big impact this season for your Toronto Huskies. Ryan Kerrigan did as well. And now Ryan Kerrigan down to a 77 overall. Still could make an impact, though, on this team. So that is something we have to keep in mind. And some guys we know we're going to let go of. Unfortunately, Josh Bynes, it is time. He played well, valiantly in the first season, and just didn't see the field much last year. So we're going to go ahead and let him go. Same with Rashad Jones, down to a 63. My, oh my, how the high have fallen. As we're going to go ahead and let him go. As well as Jamon Brown, who is a good backup lineman for us. Andy Dalton we're going to go ahead and let go. See if we can get another backup quarterback. We're also going to let Patrick Laird, the RB1 from the first season, walk as well. And Carlos Watkins can also walk, as well as Jalen Holmes. So now the question is, Tim Settle, does he bring enough to the table as a depth piece? I actually think I'm going to let him walk. And Bob Tonyan, I'm going to go ahead and let him walk as well. See if we can find another fullback. Or maybe bring him back cheaper in free agency. And Zaire Franklin. I do like Zaire Franklin. He played well when he got on the football field. But the problem is, last season there was just so much competition, he really never saw the field. And at 26, it's not a terrible contract. Well, let's see if we can get Ryan Kerrigan to come back. I would like to bring him back. Give him a little bit of extra money here. And he is going to test free agency, and I'm not giving him $21 million. So we've got Jonnu Smith now. The question is, do we want to give him a multi-year deal? That's where I am unsure, because while he did play quite well, was it well enough for a big contract? I think it was. The man had over 80 receptions, almost 900 yards. I think he deserves a payday. A 4-year deal works for me. And he does sign with us, so tight end Jonnu Smith will be here for the next 4 seasons unless decide to move him at some point. So now it's Zaire Franklin. Decision time for him. I think we're going to let him go. I'm going to let him go, and then that's going to wrap up the re-signing period here. I think that this is going to be a big part. So we got one of the 3 guys back, the 3 big ones, and then we have 2 more guys here that we'll be looking back at in free agency. So we're going to go ahead and advance to the next week here. And getting into the free agent period with $46 million to spend, and this is what we're looking at. We've got some interesting players out here. Some guys who could make an impact, possibly. As you see here, Big Play Slay already gotten. Some interesting names out here, as I just wanted to show you guys the top 100. Oh, there's Delaney Walker at 38. He's still playing. What a beast. Ooh, Justin Jefferson. That is interesting. Decisions. Decisions to be made. And that is going to round out the top 100 here. So now let's go ahead and look. What do we need? I guess we'll look at our team real quick. See what we feel like is a spot of emphasis. Backup quarterback for sure. And it looks like Latavius Murray is actually back under contract for one more season. So RB2 isn't as much of a need necessarily. Fullback possibly. Now Justin Jefferson would look real nice in here. But I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Tight end, we got that taken care of with Jonnu Smith re-signed. Our offensive line, we could use a left guard upgrade if we can find one. And obviously, defensive end is something we need to focus on. And some depth across the defensive line in general. So we've got Demario Davis in the middle, down to a 76 now, with J.J. Mirable right behind him at a 73. And we still need a cornerback 2, I feel like, to play opposite of Marshawn Lattimore. So Jalen Thompson here as well as Jaquil Easter. Alright, so let's go ahead and see if we can fill some of those voids that I just talked about. So we'll start with backup quarterback. Not necessarily giving a contract out, just looking to see what's available. As we see here, there's a handful of names out here for veterans at the top. And if you're looking for a veteran who's a little bit cheaper, there are some guys. And bring Phillip Rivers in at 40 years old. Oh yes, fullback. It's a good thing we got Jonnu Smith because Look at this tight end market. There's not a whole lot that entices me. I mean, Delaney Walker. Like, there's a reason we let him go, though. So let's go ahead and try and bring Ryan Kerrigan back. Give him a 1-year contract once again. We'll do, well, we'll see if we can't bring him a little bit cheaper here. Lowball him a little bit, see what he says. Thinking maybe more along the lines of about $5 million. See what he says to that. And then we don't really need any linebackers, although there's some interesting ones out here. We could look at a middle linebacker, possibly, especially because we didn't like a lot of them in the draft. But looking at the guys who are out here, none of them are jumping off the page at me. And I do think Big Play Slay might be in it. Good ad again as the corner 2, especially with the way he played last year. It's going to be hard to not go his way. So I'm going to go ahead and give him another contract. We'll start with 10.1, see where that brings us. Maybe adjust accordingly. So it does put us at the top here, but I don't want to miss out on him. So I'm going to go ahead and give him some extra money. Make sure he wants to come here. Up that signing bonus. Make it real enticing for him. Come back and repeat at 1 year, $13 million. Hopefully that is good enough for him. Now we would like to bring in possibly some other pieces in terms of depth across the defensive line, maybe a defensive tackle for some depth. Obviously depth, cheap depth is what we're really looking for. So someone who's only a few $1 million or less, like Linval Joseph would be an intriguing name. Gerald McCoy could be good. Now, I'm thinking I'm going to lean towards grabbing one of these guys, like either a Linval Joseph or Gerald McCoy. The question is, which one do we feel like could make a bigger impact, one on the field? He's got 79, 76, and 71 for all the moves, and 88 strength does McCoy. And then Joseph definitely hasn't beaten strength, I know that. But power moves, block shedding, very similar. He just doesn't have any finesse to his game. Linval Joseph is a real one-trick pony. But I like the trick that he has in his stable, I guess we'll call it. So I would not mind bringing Linval Joseph on. Lowball him a little bit, see what he says. Even a guy like Brandon Graham would not be terrible to bring in. Not saying we're going to do this, but as a possibility, that would be interesting. So let's go ahead and try and find the backup quarterback. We could bring in Kirk Cousins, but don't know if that's the right move. It would be interesting to bring Phillip Rivers in for development purposes. And I think that might actually be the route we go. We'll lowball him, see what he says. 1 year, less than 3 mil. See if Phillip Rivers wants to come join this squad. Jeremy Chin is interesting. Always liked Eric Berry as well. I know we looked at Josh Jackson previously, so he could be someone to keep an eye on. Trayvon Diggs as well. And looking at that sort of coverage, really good man coverage. I might just throw an offer out and see what happens. A little 3-year deal, cheap 3-year deal to be more or less some depth. Josh Chamberlain. Huh. So maybe we'll go ahead and go with Jordan Hicks. He's probably the cheapest of all these options. Now, Hicks or David, though? I'm gonna go with Jordan Hicks. Give him a small deal, see what he can bring to the table. Lowball him. And then, oh man, it's so enticing to bring in Justin Jefferson. I guess we'll keep an eye on him. If he doesn't have any offers later in free agency, then we'll go ahead and take a gander, lowball him. Let's see. We do have 19 million. So we could go after one more big name. And David DeCastro would be interesting, especially if we moved him to left guard. Because I feel like with his ability, he can play left guard. Definitely not out of the realm of possibility for him. Up that contract a bit. Give us a more guaranteed signing bonus here. To a 102-point offer. We'll see how that does for David DeCastro. That leaves us with $6 million. These are the offers we currently have out. We're going to have to wait and see for a lot of these guys, because I think that's going to be a wrap here for the first part of free agency. We're going to go ahead and advance and see what happens. This free agency wasn't crazy by any means, as we did get Big Play Slayback. So that was the big one that we needed to bring back, and we were able to do so. So that helps us out on the back end, gives us our corner. Now, no one else accepted or rejected. So let's go ahead and take a look here at how things are lining up. So we've got some more competition for David DeCastro now. And it looks like all of our other ones seem to be the only offers out for these guys. Now, David DeCastro, we currently are still in the lead. Will it be enough, though? I'm not quite sure. But let's go ahead and finish scouting out some of these guys. We will go ahead and finish scouting all of these linebackers, as it does look like we have, ooh, alright, combine grades in. Looking here, have to decide what I want to use these last little bit of points on. Let's go ahead and find a RB2 possibly. Maybe scout some of these undrafted guys, see what they bring to the table. Okay. Any surprising guys here in the undrafted area? All right. So we do have a few more things to do here before we wrap up free agency. We got 2 more rounds of free agent. Well, I guess one more round. The final round is just scouting, really. So we got 1 more round of free agency. And I think I'm actually going to save that for the next video. I'm going to go ahead and make those moves with those draft picks, as I mentioned earlier. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so that way it possibly, not saying it will, but it could possibly free up a little bit of extra cap space in case we want to use it to secure some of these guys. So let's go ahead and wrap this beginning of the off season up right here, and then we'll start off at this point next video. I'm very excited to get into this thing and kind of show you guys. This was a little laid back video, I'll admit. It's kind of taking nice and slow, just showing you guys some other things that happened this season, but I think that we're in a point where now we can kind of let the guys develop that we have on the team, which is why I'm not going super aggressively after a ton of these free agents, especially the older ones, because I don't think that they're going to help us that much necessarily in terms of, unless we don't have a young player at that position, if that makes sense. Because I think I would rather let some of these young guys develop than try and stuff someone else out there ahead of them for only a season or 2. So, but anyways, my name is TayVikes28. I thank you guys for watching, and tune in next time to see the wrap up of free agency and the NFL draft. A lot of fun stuff, a lot of big moves to be made. Who will we draft? That's the question. Will it be Trevor Lawrence? Will it be Micah Parsons? Will it be someone like Jamar Chase or something like that? Those are some big questions that we will have to answer here upcoming. But until then, my name is TayVikes28. I thank you guys for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.